All right, and we're back. Welcome back to the Summits Podcast. This is episode 6, featuring Stephanie Lesher, Program Manager, Catherine Peachey Fund, and many other hats. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
This will be the first time we've had a happy hour, regardless of what time of day it is. I mean, day drinking is perfectly okay.
It's fine.
It's after 5 o'clock in Europe.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's got to be some study out there that says wine first thing in the morning's good for you, right? Somebody's made
Surgeon
this study.
General says.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
What can you tell us about this wine in particular?
Well, that is from Peacewater Winery. It's a red blend, and it is one of the wines that we're going to be tasting this year during the Wine Tasting with Peachey event.
Awesome.
The owner of Peacewater Winery is Scott Burton, and he's going to speak about the unique business model of Peacewater Winery, as well as the wines. And they're actually the only Napa Valley winery in Indiana. All of their grapes are grown in their vineyards out in Napa Valley. So it makes it stand out. And then they also are just incredibly philanthropic. Really, the backbone of their business is philanthropy. So he'll talk about the wines, what it pairs well with, and just...
Would you like some?
Yes, I would, please. So we're going to be tasting this one, which is a red blend. It's their 21 Windows. And the second bottle we're tasting is their Rosé Inspire, which I think might be their most popular wine. I mean, it sells out quickly. They did a pre-sale actually on this year's release, and I snagged 60 bottles for our event.
Oh, wow.
Ahead of
I thought you were
time.
going to say, I snagged 60 bottles for my personal collection.
Which...
No.
A bottle a week, sometimes
right.
2 on the weekends.
No, that would when I went to pick it up, I picked up 60 bottles of each, and the girl was like, "Oh, are you having a party?" And I'm like, "Well, of sorts." Hosting
just meeting a couple friends.
Yeah, it's for a fundraiser.
Just a normal Tuesday. It's fine.
I'm so embarrassed. But anyway.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Here's to the Catherine Peachey Fund and Wine Tasting with Peachey. The Porch Party edition this year.
Oh, that was good. That is dry.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
I like that.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Cool. All right, well, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
Before we get into the wine tasting with Peachey, let's talk about the Catherine Peachey Fund specifically. If you would tell everyone what the mission of the fund is.
Sure. Well, it's simple. We fund breast cancer research in the state of Indiana. And while all of our dollars stay in Indiana, we really do have a global impact because we have some of the most amazing breast cancer researchers in the world here in Indiana. And the Catherine Peachey Fund is in our 27th year. We are at just over $3.4 million granted to breast cancer research over that time. One of the things that I love about the Catherine Peachey Fund is that we are... Not only is our group 100% volunteer, but we're 100% transparent. So, and I think that makes us unique, really, in philanthropy in general and specifically in the world of breast cancer research dollars. So on the heroesfoundation.org website, you can find a link to our complete list of all the grants we've given over those 27 years. And I'm really proud of that. And So, yes, we like to focus on research that we say goes from the bench to the clinic, meaning research that happens in the lab that has real and not often the forever distant future impact on what's happening in the rooms where the patients are, what the doctors are able to do for them. We do a lot of breast cancer prevention research. We also focus on triple-negative breast cancer research. We were the initial funders for what is now the Susan G. Komen Tissue Bank at the IU Simon Cancer Center. That's a really big deal, not only for the Catherine Peachey Fund, but for Indiana University, the state of Indiana, and the world. It's the only normal tissue bank of its kind, normal breast tissue bank of its kind in the world. And that's really cool that that's here in our state.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's really cool.
To touch on that one just a little bit, because it is a unique aspect. Obviously, funds generated from the wine tasting event have gone towards that. If you would, for the layperson that may not be familiar with that particular bank, what does that mean?
So they when the tissue bank began in its infancy, they were collecting blood samples. That happened at one of the Race for the Cures. And that's when the Catherine Peachey Fund really had initiated the funding for it. And since then, they've grown to well over 5,000 breast tissue samples, many more thousands of blood tissue samples. And when I say it's the only kind it's the only kind like that in the world, they are actually taking tissue from normal, healthy breasts that women just come to donate. And before the bank was formed, no one believed that would happen, that women would just give of themselves in that way.
Right.
And I know Dr. Anna Maria Storniolo, who was one of the co-principal founders of the tissue bank, she always raves about Hoosiers and how amazing it is that women come and do that. And they've taken their show on the road, and they have tissue samples from all over the country. And one of the big goals of that bank, and again, what makes it unique, is that they have a very focused attention on making the diversity of the tissue in the bank reflective of the population. So, and that's a challenge because there are certain populations that are more reluctant than others to donate, but that's a big focus of their marketing and all of their efforts. So, so then the tissue is, when the tissue is collected, it's, there's a whole process that it goes through, lots of annotation. There's, of course, lots of paperwork and consent forms that are used. And then it's available not only in physical samples, which, of course, there's a pretty stringent application process for researchers to get a hold of the physical tissue, but all the data is available virtually. And so that can be used from people all over the world. I mean, the physical tissue samples are used all over the world, but certainly the virtual tissue bank is used all over the world by researchers, and then they'll share back information, and it is just such a rich source of information. And breast cancer researchers have grown to understand that they can't really determine what's happening at the disease point if they don't understand the normal tissue. And another thing I think that's really cool about the tissue in the tissue bank is that there are some really interesting subsets. For example, a woman that has donated and then later finds out that she has breast cancer and then will come back and donate before any of her treatments begin, so that they have from the same woman both the normal
before and
after. There's also some subsets. Actually, I participated in this myself. They know that there's something about nursing that can help preclude breast cancer, is considered preventative for breast cancer, and especially if you nurse for a minimum of 6 months. And so I donated tissue before I had a child, and then at the end of when I was about to be done nursing, so that it's tissue from a nursing breast, and then again later after that. So that's and I'm not the only one that's done that. They have a bit of a library, if you will, of women who have donated in those stages, and that's really, really cool for researchers to be able to see that and see what happens to the breast over that phase.
Right.
So
the thing is, if somehow there was some clue as to what through the breastfeeding process, what may trigger the fact that person may have a less likely chance. How could they maybe replicate that to create a drug or
exactly some sort of preventative measure? So
that is interesting. I'm curious, when they went around the country to get samples, did they find that people in other states or other areas of the country were more reluctant to give than Indiana?
No, it's pretty remarkable. I know they've done it in Houston. They've done it in Orange County, California. Interestingly enough, it turns out Orange County is the most diverse county in the United States.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So that was a really wealthy, a real wealth of tissue to go and get such a broad sample, such a diverse sample. So the Komen Tissue Bank has always been really dear to us, and something that we have funded over the years. Even beyond the initial funding, we've continued to sponsor tissue collections. So money that we raise during the wine tasting event, that's one of many places that we like to help with the money that we raise.
Yeah.
Cool. wine tasting specifically, the 2021 event is coming up on June 21st. Kind of easy to remember with all the 21s. And you have to be 21 to participate.
Yeah.
Or just have parental consent, whatever that means. How many years has the wine tasting been going on?
This is our 7th annual, which is kind of amazing to me. And when we started the wine tasting events, it predated us joining the Heroes Foundation. And it was... When I look back on it, it didn't feel small at the time, but in retrospect, it was small. And we really were using it more for publicity than for fundraising, really trying to introduce ourselves to the Central Indiana community more than we had in the past. Peachey, before we joined the Heroes Foundation, the Peachey Foundation was really managed out of Northern Indiana. And so we felt like the wine tasting event was a great way for us to sort of bring more people in and be aware of us here in Central Indiana. But over the course of those 7 years, we've gone from raising, I believe, $2,000 the first year to hopefully our goal this year is $40,000. That's actually due in large part to us joining the Heroes Foundation because we've been able to take advantage of all of the amazing corporate sponsors that support the Heroes Foundation. And in turn support the Catherine Peachey Fund. But last year we added an online auction. I suppose you could say it's one of the silver linings of, having to go virtual. We had intended to add a small auction at the live event, but moving it online allowed us to really
ramp it up.
I mean, in a very short period of time. So it wasn't ramped up maybe as much as we would have liked. This year it'll be bigger. And then having that vehicle for online donations was huge because one of the things about having the event in the past at Peacewater Winery was we always felt like we really inspired people, but we didn't have a way to fundraise at the event. And so putting it online really allowed us to do that. And people showed up. We actually doubled our attendance with the virtual event versus the live event. And we raised considerably more dollars last year, which was such a pleasant surprise going in a virtual event when we really had no idea what to expect.
We had a limit of a physical space at one point in time, and now with online, it's in theory could be limitless to an extent, right? Who you can reach and how you can reach them.
Exactly. Having said that, we have every intention of going back to a live event next year.
Yep.
Probably in a little bit of a larger venue. And then the trick in not-for-profit fundraising these days is trying to figure out what does the hybrid model look like. So we'll be looking to Brookfield Group to help us figure that out.
We'll do everything we can.
So speaking of that, how does the lay of the land look this year? I mean, I feel like we're in this gray area. Like, yes, things are improving, but we're not out of the woods yet, so to speak. And of course, we all hope that nothing then happens to then trigger us to have to take another step back. But to your point, like the hybrid version is the I don't know, biggest question going forward. I mean, I think a lot of events will try it or we'll have to figure out how to do it and do it well. And I don't know if anyone has the total secret sauce yet.
Well, my hope is that much like last year, our event was in August, which in a way it was later in the year after a lot of other organizations had already made the pivot and gone to the 100% virtual. So I was able to go online and research other events and see what people were doing and try
get
to
some
kind
examples.
And I sat in on a webinar or two to get some good ideas.
It's like the spark notes of fundraising in 2020.
Right. So I guess I'm just crossing my fingers that there'll be people that figure it out before I have to, that I can learn from. So I guess we'll see. I think that hybrid is, and I think most not-for-profits believe that the hybrid model is really what we're going to be doing moving forward because we've all seen the silver linings and how there were a lot of positives that have come out of it. But yet we crave being together. And listening to live music and drinking wine with our friends. And, so I think hopefully we'll be able to figure out the best of both worlds. I'm not an expert, but I'm a learner, so, we'll just figure it out. I keep thinking about the 2022 event, and then I'm like, reel it back. We're going to focus.
Yeah.
We've got 1 month to go.
I've been guilty of that before. I hear you.
So this year is also virtual, right?
Yes, we made the decision many months ago to go 100% virtual with this event. And I still feel, even though, like, for example, I was out Saturday night on Main Street in Carmel where this event will be. And I mean, it was hopping. Yeah. People are out. People want to be out. We had a fantastic evening ourselves, but, we serve the cancer community, and I think that is really important to keep in mind. And so a lot of our supporters or people that we're serving are very vulnerable, so we want to be respectful of that. Additionally, a lot of our largest corporate sponsors are companies like Eli Lilly, IU Simon Cancer Center, Community. I mean, places where their employees are not being encouraged to go out yet and participate in events like this. And so, we typically have a speaker or two who are grantees from, researchers coming from the various institutions that we support. And we wouldn't have been able to have them there this year. And I don't know. I do feel like we've kind of hopefully found a good compromise with our porch party theme, where so many people are vaccinated now or are feeling more comfortable being out and about. And so we're encouraging our supporters to host porch parties and have their friends to their home, to their porches, have a COVID-safe party. Yeah. We are offering what we're calling porch party packs, where you can order a kit where we have the 2 bottles of wine from Peace Water that we're tasting. These glasses that we're drinking out of today are actually last year's Catherine Peachey Fund wine glass to go with the event, but we have a new version this year, our porch party edition glass. Okay. So those will be included in the party packs, along with some snacks and treats from local businesses. So those are available online, but of course we're encouraging people, go to Peace Water, buy the wine, have it at home, create your own spread for you and your friends. And so hopefully that's a great compromise of like bringing your friends together for a watch party. We're going to have great live music going in the background. And while we are going to have a program where we do give information about the Catherine Peachey Fund, and we're going to have some videos of some of our grantees talking about how they work with the Catherine Peachey Fund, we're really trying to appreciate the fact that people are at home on their porches drinking wine and having fun with their friends. And so there's going to be as much live music, if not more, than us talking and information about the research that we support. I think it's obviously an important component of the event, but we're trying to find a good balance here so people can just relax and enjoy themselves.
Right. Where should people go if they want to purchase a porch party pack?
We have an event website. It's at givergy.us, which is GIVERY. ERGY. Thank you. I knew I'd mess that up. .us and then /Peachey, which is PEACHEY. And you can register for the event. We encourage you to do that so that you can get texts and reminders as the event is approaching, and you can donate there. You can look at our online auction, which will go live June 1st, and we're going to have some really fun items on there. Cake Bake has donated 2 bottles of their private label pink champagne from France. We're excited to have that. We have gift cards from Prime 47 and the Cheesecake Factory. We're having a little bit of a battle of the tailgates, if you will, where we've got a bottle of Tito's vodka in each of these, but we're going to have one for IU, Purdue, and Notre Dame.
All I heard was IU.
Wrong.
So these great tailgate packages, and I don't know, we're kind of curious to see which one sells to the who's the highest bidder on which tailgate package. So I don't know. I think we have a fun variety of items, so we'll encourage people to check that out. As well. But givergy.us /Peachey.
Okay. And we'll have that link in the description as well in this video. So
Great.
click below and
perfect.
And get subscribed. It was a lot of fun last year. I was there in person behind the scenes.
Yes.
So
we had a small crew that was there.
I was drinking.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
Watching that.
We did have a lot of fun, and I have to admit, like, never having done anything like this, I was just amazed watching the Brookfield Group team work their magic with all the technology. I mean, we looked fancy. I mean, it was like the real deal.
You hear that, Chris? We tricked them.
No, Chris did a great job. So that piece was so stressful last year, but I don't even have to worry about it this year.
It's just normal.
You guys are going to be there, and I know that part's going to work.
Yeah.
And it's just all the work ahead of time.
So June 1st, auction goes live, and I mean, you could be anywhere in the world, really, to bid on anything.
That's right.
Which we certainly encourage everyone to do. Talking about the funds, how much did the wine tasting event raise last year?
We were at about 36,000, I believe.
And can you talk about where a lot of those funds go in terms of the research or any other aspect?
Yep, I sure can. Goodness, I'm trying to think. Like this last year, 2020 was unique, obviously, for so many reasons. But one of the frustrating things for me was that so many of the labs that we support went into hibernation, and some of the research got slowed down. We had one project that unfortunately had to fall by the wayside, although I'm incredibly grateful that it was only one. So it's been really exciting as we've moved into 2021 to watch the need for dollars come back. I'm so I want to give our money away. Like, we raised the money to give it away. And one of the things that we love to support is it's called the Amelia Project. And it's a meeting of researchers from across the state of Indiana that come together once a year. And the coolest thing about this meeting is you literally get to see the collaborations between major universities happening before your eyes. They happen in that room because they're there together physically. So, although
it doesn't always happen.
No, it's
nothing negative, but reality says it doesn't always happen.
It's actually incredibly unique. And I've been told that IU even uses the Amelia Project as a recruiting tool because researchers are attracted to that ability, the collaborative work. So that's something that I always say, like, the wine tasting event is really fun, but I consider the Amelia Project the cornerstone event for the Catherine Peachey Fund, and we have supported that for many, many, many years. And 2020 didn't happen, and 2021 is not happening, but next year, 2022, it's on the calendar in January, and I cannot wait for that to happen. So we support that event. There's an organization in Indianapolis called the Red Alliance, and Lisa Hayes is the executive director of the Red Alliance. You'll actually get to hear from her during the wine tasting event. But the mission of the Red Alliance is to end the disparity in the mortality rate of women diagnosed with breast cancer who are Black women versus Caucasian women. Black women are 41% more likely to die from a breast cancer diagnosis than Caucasian women. And so the Red Alliance is all about research into why it's not as obvious as you might think. It's multifaceted, and so they have a lot of research that they fund and work together with researchers to help figure out that puzzle. There's a huge education piece where they are in the community. One of the things that's really unique about the Red Alliance is that they have a philosophy of meeting people where they are. So they go into the Black churches and they have advocates that they train who are then training the women that are in those churches, and they get the pastors involved and really try to reach people that way. And so they have an annual event called their Breast Health Summit, and we support that annually. And so that has rescheduled a couple of times, but it's coming up this November. It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving, so I'm not sure what that date is, but so we'll be a sponsor for that.
Awesome.
Generally, the niche of the Catherine Peachey Fund, and it's one of the reasons why I think Vince and I realized that the Catherine Peachey Fund would be a good fit within the Heroes Foundation, because it really aligns with the research that the Heroes Foundation has always funded, is we help the researchers we give them the dollars that they need to get the initial data that they need to then go get the larger grants from the DoD or the NIH, for example. And so we are always looking for new, novel research, young researchers. And as a matter of fact, one of the things we're going to talk about at the wine tasting, I love this picture. So so a little aside, this is off track from what I was talking about, but this is Dr. Hari Nishakhtri, and he is a grantee of the Catherine Peachey Fund. And this is actually at a Komen tissue collection, and what's in that cooler is fresh breast tissue samples that he gets from the lab once they kind of put it through their process, and he rushes it to his lab because there's research that he can do when the tissue is fresh, for lack of a better word. Yeah. And so it's so cool. I know I sound like a breast cancer research nerd here, but like it's so cool to be there and see that happening in real time, and just how happy he is about it. And we kind of all geek out when we're there. It's just it's a big deal. It really is. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. That a couple of women just showed up that day and gave of themselves because they're so passionate about this, and they get nothing in return. I mean, I mean, they're not paid. Vera Bradley generously usually donates a nice gift that the women walk away with, but that's certainly not why they're there. Yeah. So, so I was saying that during the wine tasting event, one of the things we're going to be talking about is we have a new partnership with Purdue University's Global Women's Health
Boiler Up
Institute. Yes. And
I was getting the go ahead there because he gets a little upset.
Well, I mean, I don't want to gang up on you, but I'm also an IU Hoosier. So
I know. I'm outnumbered. That's fine.
But we are breast cancer research agnostic at the Catherine Peachey Fund. We like to fund research wherever it's happening. I'm actually talking to a new to me researcher at the University of Notre Dame, and we have a big meeting coming up. We're hoping to help fund some exciting things happening in her lab as well. So, but anyway, with our new partnership with Purdue is we're gonna actually be providing a $15,000 grant annually for novel breast cancer research, and that their faculty are doing. And we actually are reviewing proposals right now, and it's really neat because the research that they're doing, because it's happening at Purdue, at least 2 of the 3 are using some really like high-tech engineering technology stuff that I'm really excited about to be able to be funding.
Yeah.
You know, it's new for us. So
I think that those words even went over Vince's head.
I'm just seeing you glow from engineering, whatever.
Well, and the research, it has to be Purdue-led, but they certainly are welcomed, if not encouraged, to collaborate outside of Purdue. It could be, and it doesn't, those collaborators don't have to necessarily be in the state of Indiana. They could be anywhere. So we're reviewing some really neat proposals, and we'll be very excited to announce the winner of, this is our first year doing it. So It's really cool.
Yeah.
And so we're having the people that are leading that initiative at Purdue are producing a video for us for the wine tasting. So we'll get to hear from them.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing that.
I mean, all jokes or college rivalries aside, I mean, we've talked about this before, all of us. I mean, cancer doesn't give a shit if you went to IU or Purdue or Notre Dame or wherever.
I know, but think about that. I mean, in Indiana, we have University of Notre Dame, Indiana University, the Simon Cancer Center, Purdue. I mean, not to mention organizations like the Red Alliance and other partnerships that we have, the Amelia Project, which brings together researchers and breast cancer advocates from all over the state and together in the same room for a whole day, learning and sharing. And so, I mean, as you can tell, I get really excited about this stuff. But
we're not just farmers people. We're doing stuff in Indiana.
That's right. Big stuff.
Yeah.
Big stuff.
You mentioned the Purdue stuff, which I've seen some recent information on, and looks very interesting. Some props.
Thank you. I won't take any credit for it other than somehow getting a degree from there.
What other things can you share at this point in terms of recent research projects that these funds are going towards? To the kind of the overarching thing that you talked about, we'd love to be able to give $2, $3, $4, or $5 million grants. It's just not, it's not reality today. But to your point, John or Jane Doe researcher needs to get started somewhere, and if we can be the catalyst to help that, and then they go on to get those bigger dollars to take the next step, then it's very cool. It's kind of like investing in an early stage business,
seed funding, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
What other projects are going on? Either ones that have already been funded in the last year-ish, and then ones that we know that are kind of on the plate to look at.
Yeah. I'm going to give you an example of. We had a photo. I don't think it's in our. Okay. I don't think we're going to see it, but it's
I'll throw it up in the video.
But this is a really great example of Catherine Peachey funding. It was a $30,000 grant for a piece of equipment for someone like myself that would have no clue how to use it. It looks almost like the size of a printer that you would see in an office setting, so it was about that size. And so that piece of equipment was on the campus at IUPUI somewhere, but it was literally miles from the lab. Mm-hmm. And so they were renting time, the tissue bank, the researchers using the Komen Tissue Bank were renting time miles away to use this piece of equipment and, could get access to it maybe monthly. And so we funded $30,000 to them so they could go out and buy this piece of equipment so that they could have it there at, where their labs are and
use it immediately
when they want to, because my goodness, we want to find a cure or at least better treatments or preventative measures yesterday, right? Yeah. So we don't want to have them to have to go across campus once a month to use this equipment. So we, over our 27-year history, if you look through the list of grants, you'll see a number of instances where we have funded new equipment, fancy microscopes, all in an attempt to make this research happen more efficiently. And oftentimes other funding sources are so there's so much red tape. It's very
is that
this is
go.
it. Yes,
yep.
yes. So there's Dr. Nashaktri again, Dr. Natasha Marino, and then a couple ladies from the tissue bank. So yeah, he's got a little swagger there. He's pretty proud of it. So So equipment. I don't know. I just
and even to some
excited.
extent personnel. I mean, we've helped with that as well.
That's a perfect example. So, so one that we just did very recently was we are funding. We have done this over, and we've done this for a number of years, but the last 2 years, thanks to COVID, of course, funding has had to be shifted, and rightfully so. We needed to get answers about COVID, but as we all know, cancer doesn't stop for COVID. That's something we say all the time these days. And the Komen Tissue Bank has interns every year that come in and do a tremendous amount of really critical work that then allows the staff to go out and do their jobs without having to do the stuff that the interns are doing. And so last year we fully funded that intern program, which we had not done in the past. In the past we had provided stipends and different things, but we fully funded the intern program at the tissue bank last year. And then again, we just recently agreed to do that again this year. Wow, so
that's awesome.
It's really important because those interns, they're interns, but they're doing really important work. And like I said, it's work that if they weren't there doing it, the staff would have to be taking their time to do it. And all of this isn't like, let's get this done, right? Like, let's move this forward as quickly as we can. So we've done that. We've also funded laboratory scientists or portions of their salaries to get what is needed to keep them there. And I think I started to say earlier and didn't finish the thought that other funding sources can be tedious and really difficult to get the money. It can take so long to get money from other sources. And one of the things that the Catherine Peachey Fund has always done very well, and gratefully still as a part of the Heroes Foundation, Vince and I agreed to this model. We are incredibly nimble and we don't have a funding cycle. So we are accessible 12 months out of the year as needs arise.
Okay.
And I think that's really important. And again, something that makes the Catherine Peachey Fund unique is that we're able to help when help is needed, and we can help quickly. So we've been able to help fund, like, for example, the equipment, the personnel, other things that are needed in the lab. One time we bought mice, like that they needed quickly. It may have not been they may have even gone out and gotten NIH funding and then found there was a gap, or there was, I know something that was happening in the labs a lot last year was when they went into hibernation and people couldn't come in to maintain the research that was going on or feed the mice, again, for example, that some things that were in an original budget were lost. And so we provide gap funding often too, which can go in and help us in a situation like that. So,
yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have something? I thought you had an item that.
No, I mean we had a couple things that I was gonna bring up, but we've touched on them without having to kind of steer the conversation at all.
Doesn't take much to get me talking about the Catherine Peachey Fund and breast cancer research.
Well,
making our jobs easy.
Yeah, we talked about this in another upcoming episode, but with another person who has spent most of their shorter lifespan. Unfortunately, they're quite a bit younger than us, which would only make them like 10 since we're like 24 or 5-ish.
Yeah.
But how much passion plays a role in all this. I mean, none of us are getting rich off this by any means. We're doing it because we want to do it, because we want to make a difference, and because the need's there.
Exactly.
And if, knock on wood, we came up with the magic bullet tomorrow for whether it's all cancers or a certain type of cancer, and it puts us out of business,
I'd be happy to go out of business.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll just drink more wine.
Yeah.
Again, so Wine Tasting with Peachey 2021, Porch Party Edition, June 21st. We got the logo for the event. Remind everyone where they can register for the event, and the packages are still available for sale, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct. We have very limited quantities, however. So if you're interested in one of those, you have to
get off your ass and order one.
I would encourage you to get one, because keep in mind, with the volunteer model, we are collecting all of the items ourselves, we're putting them together ourselves, and then we're delivering them. So we do have a capacity that we can, that we can reach. So, so we are encouraging people to order those early if they'd like one. Again, all of the event information, donation, silent auction, porch party packs, everything is at givergy.us/Peachey.
Now, did you intentionally make the porch party packs PPP, like sort of these like the Peachey PPP infusion?
No, but aren't we trendy? I mean,
just throwing it out there.
We are so 2020.
I know.
2021.
Yeah. So get your Peachey Fund PPP loan from the but instead of money, it's wine.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the auction goes live June 1st, and again, accessible from wherever you are. Just log in, you can do it. The links are still at that same URL that you.
Everything's right there in one place, which is so great.
Cool. Also, I have a message to you. We'll talk after. I have another item for your auction.
Oh, great. Great.
You may not be interested. Well, actually, you would be interested.
Uh-oh.
But we'll talk about that later.
Well, and actually, to that point, while the auction goes live June 1st, one of the things that I hope entices people to come back between June 1st and June 21st is we will be adding new items along the way. So
set up notifications.
Yeah, well, and again, it's a great
Yep.
reason to register, because we won't be inundating you by any means. We're trying to make it a convenience, but you'll get notices to remind you. So, and I think, when you do those auctions, you get notices when you've been outbid.
Yep.
So you
right.
get back there and
get a little competitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're bidding on one of those tailgating packages.
Yes.
You want your alma mater to, really look good.
Yep.
So
Notre Dame's going to come out of left field and beat both of us, I think.
That's fine.
It could.
More money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know which one I won't be bidding on.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in and sharing
You're welcome.
more about the event and about all the great research that's being funded by events like this. So you guys do your part, attend the event virtually, register, buy whatever packages, however many packages are left. Let's sell those out, and then of course participate in the auction, and do something to continue to fight breast cancer in Indiana.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Right, thank you.
you.